Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to make a video about in response to Southern Nordic in regards to mental health, and I will make a bit of a detour to get to my initial point, but that might actually be useful for some to hear. Let's put it like that. Okay, so where to begin? Southern Nordic mentioned that focusing too much on whatever anti-whites do, beating people, etc., etc., and other atrocities, other injustices. He says that it is exhausting, that it can hamper your mental health. Well, that is one of the reasons that he brought up. It can hamper mental health, and I have my take on that, in the sense of he marries looking at what anti-whites do to hatred. He says it himself, right? And this is not so much a calling out as just an observation in his own videos. He says that hate keeps him going. And I understand it. Personally, it's not how I go about it, it's not my approach, but I understand. When you're dealing with someone who treats you unjustly just for being born, just for being, one of your own kind, that is pretty despicable. I think we understand this. However, and I'm going to quote Michael Tsarion, I have been doing that a little bit more of late than I've ever done before. Yeah, interesting fellow, and what he has to say is definitely worth heeding too. One of his quotes goes that depression is repressed rage. Depression is repressed rage. It's one that makes you think, doesn't it? And I would perhaps even say that it is outrage specifically. It's a response to an injustice. It's a response to a mistreatment. It's it's a response to a natural want to drive off evil, if you will. And if that need, that energy goes unanswered, you become depressed. You become tired. You have like these big bags underneath your eyes. You start slouching, and that's usually where drugs come in as well for most people. They cannot go anywhere with that outrage, so they just start drinking, start smoking all sorts of things, and so forth and so on. To dampen that feeling of repressed rage within themselves. I think nurturing themselves on some level is maybe a nice way of putting it. Fitting. I do not blame people for applying hatred, I suppose, if that is what they think fits them best. So long as it is, of course, in response to an injustice and not from an injustice itself, because the anti-white is hateful too, right? That is something very important, I think, to know. The anti-white hates white people. I've said it before 100 times by now. But the anti-white isn't hateful because of an injustice or anything. That's their excuse in their case. They'll come with all sorts of things, get themselves emotionally riled up into a hateful fit, and then they just lay waste to everything that is, Caucasian, Hyperborean, white, European, what have you. Right? The two can also look very alike to those who are morally vague. They just see two groups that are hateful towards each other. And, well, when you look at it from this perspective, does it then easily lend that isn't then the quick conclusion to follow is that, or no, you know what, I'm gonna put it differently. It's not my take. I am not hateful towards anti-whites, and a lot of people confuse that with me being then permissive somehow. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense, because what is the point of all those videos I've made and the message that it carries? Well, usually, right? Something doesn't hold up there. So what is it then, Hans? Indifference. Indifference is the word that I use. Some confuse that then with me being apathic. Oh, so you're indifferent, so you don't care. Either way, you're just a moral vague then. No, because I call anti-whites out all the time, whenever it's necessary, which is all the time. But you understand then that, or I shall put it differently, you have the indifference that I speak of, but there is apathy. And for some people those are the same thing, but that just depends on what your stance in life is, where your alignments lie. My alignments lie with my people. And, all the races, with individuals that are of good character, they can do their thing. I have no interest in that either. I think I'm more apathic about that than anything. But apathy, I think, is a sort of pathological, as the word implies, it's a pathological response. I think these people might even feel no less outraged, depressed, than those who do openly care. But they have really stomped down on it. They've smoked their senses half out of existence, if you will. And what have you? They have completed the nurturing of their soul, in a way, of their morality, hence moral fakes. But me being indifferent is it is different. My indifference is on an emotional level, not on a moral one. I feel no hatred towards them, because part of feeling hateful towards something is actually wanting, like if someone is hateful to you, then that usually implies that you want that person to stop doing so. And you want that person to love you. Like it's a weird turnaround for affection almost. Or like some sort of emotional validation from the one you hate. I do not have that. I do not want anything from these creatures. Someone who is hateful, I think on some level might. And that is where the depression or the exhaustion, the breaking mental health partially comes from. You're trying to get empathy from that which you hate, and you're trying to get that which hates you to be empathic back towards you. You want to be buddies on some deep level, it seems like. And consciously you might say, no, but that doesn't make sense. I want these anti-whites out of here. I want them gone, blah blah blah. Yeah, but on an emotional level, there is still that strange hankering, I think. And I'm no experienced psychologist or what have you, but my insights. People have by this time, at this point, often an offset that has helped them in life. Maybe someone who has a few degrees, who actually has done deeper work, his homework in that field, might come to me and say, here, maybe I can lay it out. Would be brilliant, right? Make your own video. All of that good stuff. But then, if you do it my way, so to say, and I'm not saying you should, I expect nothing from them. I know what an anti-white wants me to feel, which is pain, sadness, so they can feel powerful, blah blah blah. But in some weird way, they want me also to accept their wretched, their beings, their wretched state as they are in, they want to be accepted by whites. It sounds weird, I know, but healthy whites can never do that, because they are wretched and disgusting on every level. They are anathema, I think that is the word, to whites. Hence anti-white, right? Now, how an anti-white is going to feel is really the last of my concerns. Hence again, my indifference. They're not gonna get anything out of me, it's just not gonna happen. But someone who is hateful towards them is someone they can have an emotional bond with, guys. And that eats as much at them as it will eat at you. There's some deep psychology here, and I'm not saying it is logical, because it is emotional. Not every, as we know, too much emotion makes you illogical. It's something you need to balance out with, that logical part of yourself. Logos, I suppose, I think, as the Greeks called it, the Hellenes. And I'm not saying, again, to emphasize, I'm not saying that every white that hates anti-whites wants to cuddle them on some level. No, you want them to become good. You want them to become moral, but it's not going to happen. And that is the expectancy you need to drop. It's not what I expect at all. I'm not waiting for it, and I actually do not even care about it anymore. There are too many atrocities that they have committed as a collective that can never be forgiven. It is that simple. They have truly traumatized millions of whites in the most hideous, as deep as possible ways. Ruined countless of lives, ended countless of lives before their time. Ruined the very soil for generations to come. There is no forgiveness that they will get from me. I do not forgive evil. Maybe someone that comes crawling on his knees, who has not exactly done the most hideous of things, but something that can be repaired. Well, I might say to someone like that, an anti-white who comes, who has turned around and decides, yeah, I was wrong, and comes crawling on his knees to me, it's not gonna happen, but should it happen, and that individual asks for forgiveness, well, repair your damage. But what are you gonna say to someone who has taken a life, has truly traumatized the mind? Repair the damage? Resurrect him or her that you did the most horrible things with. Restore the minds that you've broken. Give back those years of torment and make them years of joy. Or just years that person can live out as he or she sees fit. No, there is no forgiving there. And anyone who would forgive that, well, you've just permitted evil. So then, if you're then looking at an anti-white, and you have like this emotional, you need that emotional bounce back, if you will, which you will never get, on some level within yourself, you start feeling, well, exhausted. Like you would with anything that takes too long. It's not repression, but it is just straight up exhausting. That is why I'd argue, as he then argues, is that as Southern argues, he goes out and what he does well is fishing. Some exercising, lifting some weights. And good on him for doing that. In and of himself, these are very excellent things, and I truly enjoy his video on School of the West in regards to fishing. I hope a lot of people learned something there. But yeah, I think that is just filling the tank up again. and after you're done, you're going right back to that state of increasing exhaustion. Is that good for you? I personally do not think so. I do not think that is a good way to live life. In the sense that you can do all those wonderful things, go fishing, go hiking, go dancing, whatever is going to be that you like or that you want to get better at. But mm, when you do it, when you look at it from my perspective, and you just acknowledge that this is just someone who wants to hurt me, my friends, my family, my extended family, wants to ruin the soil that my ancestors have thrived on for and survived on for millennia upon millennia. I do not want anything from them. I want the restoration of all that is good, of what is healthy, that which is moral, justice. And by having that attitude, you now stand for something that is beyond the emotional. Having emotions is good, of course, but they cannot be your sole driving point. They cannot be your main vehicle. They cannot be the motor of your vehicle even. They're part of the works, but not completely. I hope I explained it well enough. It may be a little vague. This is not the easiest of topics necessarily. But if you stop wanting things from anti-whites, whatever little things it may be, if you stop expecting them to turn around and apologize, if you stop to expect anything, then accept that which they already have been doing now for decades, centuries even, if you want to go back far enough, millennia maybe even, then you will feel better, and you do not need to worry about your mental health so much. The only worry about your mental health then is, how am I going to ensure that all that is good thrives and all that is evil vanishes? And that is also usually best balanced out with, physical activity and doing what you like to do, befitting your personality and your physical capacities, talents, what have you. Is there something else to add? I have a feeling that I should add something else to this. Apathy, I've already laid that out a little bit. Oh, something trying to fly in my face. Come on, off you go. Oh. Persistent. Nature can be so persistent, Maybe that is worth adding in there. Is that become an agent of nature, if you will. The most amazing thing about it is you do not need a badge or a uniform or what have you. Just embrace that which is natural and try to work towards that. Because anti-whites are, by the way, an anti-nature phenomenon. These people are deeply hateful about reality. That's also why they're so inclined to mess with it, to try to destroy reality and twist it, of course, into their own image, as arrogant, pathological types do, narcissists and the like, psychopaths. Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, some might be wondering, so an anti-white wants whites to like them? That is a strange way of expressing it. Well, not necessarily. If you are stunted on the inside, emotionally, if you are usually also low IQ, although there is more that comes with that, but if you are just a wretch And anything that you do in life is all about just getting things without doing the hard work for it. So there is definitely a degree of laziness and envy involved in that. But just, basically, the best I can compare it with maybe is, you know what, let's try to finish it with an example, something concrete. Let's say, uh, imagine that you are with your friends. Like, just envision a few guys or a few girls that you really love, that you really want to hang out with, like hanging out with. You're talking, and then someone enters the room, while you're all having a glass of something good. And there is this creature that comes in. Now, nobody in that group initially is perfect. Someone might have uh, someone might have a deformity in his leg. Someone else might have a beard that's not fully to his liking. Yet someone else has a lazy eye. Whatever it's going to be. But you're decent on the inside. You're good. You're good-natured. You work with. You try to stay healthy in the manner that you can, etc., etc. It's not about being perfect. Is the point I'm making here. But then this creature comes in, and not only is this creature like a slob, like smelly, just stinks up the room, waddles on these flat feet, uh, lanky limbs that are a bit too long or whatever. And that individual is uncouth, but also like brutishly stupid, and comes in there without ever having done anything with life, not even worked on him or herself, and just expects everyone to be just as friendly with whatever creature this is than anyone else in the room. Imagine being that guy who sees some loathsome being like that come up to you and try to slap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey buddy, how's it going?" They're like drooling half out of the mouth. Not because this individual cannot learn him or herself to stop doing that. It's just they won't. They won't do it. It's too hard for them. Life is too hard. It's too difficult to learn new things. There can be no respect there, right? And if there can be no respect, there can definitely be no love. But that is what that creature demands, just the arrogance and to demand it. Because you're excellent the way you are you not? Well, excellence is something you need to work on. Excellence is the way you are. If you work towards being excellent in your own unique way, that is fine. You don't need to look like anyone else. You don't need to wear the same like anyone else. You don't need to walk or talk like anyone else. But you have to be your best self. Only then people can respect you. Anti-whites do not do this. You've seen the types. They mask themselves in a million ways. They do walk in uniform, the black and red outfits. Sure, one has a jeans, the other has shorts, blah blah blah, but it's still uniform. The masking of their faces with ridiculous imagery and metal works that are stuck in there. The masking of their natural hair color usually with all kinds of chemicals that, by the way, pollute. I mean, these hairs also go somewhere after they hopefully take a shower once in a while, and all of that. And being such disgusting, loathsome creatures, they expect that you will be accepting of them. Then I ask you, isn't it a little ridiculous in a certain sense? And I do not mean this in a bad way. Because if the same person then starts staring at the curtains and kicks over a table, no, you're gonna be angry at the very least. hateful, that is like that extra step. But you see then that there might be something off about being hateful towards this person, because there's no point. This person is not gonna change or anything by shouting at him or her or what have you. No, it's not gonna happen. They're gonna be their miserable selves forever. Well, until their time is done, you know. Probably won't even reincarnate. For those who care about such things. But you get my point then. What is the point of being hateful towards someone like that? Personally, I say no, just be indifferent. Does not mean that you let them ruin your house, does not mean that you even tolerate them into your presence at all. Notice that word tolerance? Who do you need to tolerate, by the way? Good, moral, upstanding people? No. You do not need to. Like, imagine it. I tolerate you. Does that sound right? Does that sound like a loving thing? No. Anti anti-whites are also like, they want you to be tolerant. That's where that demand for loves come from. And unfortunately, a lot of good people want them to be tolerant towards whites. I do not want to be tolerated, because nobody has that control or that power over me as far as I'm concerned. They do not get to make that decision whether I'm tolerable or not. No, they're miserable creatures that need to be called out and be appropriately put in, what do you call that? Be appropriately held to account in whichever way it's going to be, from one individual to the next. We can do that. But again, and coming back to the example, me then being indifferent to this creature, just screeching and breaking stuff. Well, I can set up a new table. I don't know, just staying within the example, you can knit a new curtain. These things can be repaired. And then, even though your hand might stink a little, grab them by whatever appendage I suppose you need to invite them to leave. Because if you do not do that, I promise you, that miserable thing is going to bring in more of these miserable things. They're gonna tear down the entire house, and they will grab you by any appendage and throw you out in the most disgusting way possible, if they can. So, in that sense, the power of indifference and how to help maintain your health, I would say. Because you're not involved with that creature once the creature is gone. It will unfortunately probably waltz off to other places and try to ruin lives in other places. But that is again, it cannot do that if everyone just stands up for white well-being. And if that creature then turns on non-whites and if it spits its vitriol there, then they can handle that as well. Not my business at that point. Yeah, where are the other races coming to the defense of whites, by the way? You don't see that happen anytime soon, or at least I haven't. Maybe some do. Let's hope it's genuine though, if that's the case, and not just a front. But yeah. Anyways, the machine is about to give out. I just wanted to speak on that a bit, and I hope that helps some guys. You do not need to be hateful to handle the anti-white. You do not need to be hateful to them necessarily. If you still want to do that, if you think it's the best way, who am I to stop you, right? It's not my business to tell anyone else what to do, and it never is the intention to. But I do think this is something worth contemplating. And yeah, become an agent of nature and become an agent of justice in a way. Goodness. An agent of goodness and nature. Both are, in my opinion, even the same thing, but there you go. And then, it's all about finding the others who want to be as well and working together with them. We can get that done. A lot of good will happen. You change yourself and you change the world a lot quicker, rather than that you endlessly hope that someone else will solve it. If only the right guy gets into politics, dude. If only the right guy, the right dude starts preaching at the pulpit. It has been tried, guys. It's not working at all. If anything, it seems to sow even more confusion, and that's actually the first place where anti-whites will send infiltrants to mislead. Anything else is just, doing right. Just do right by your own, without becoming, and be a bit selfish too, but healthy selfishness. That's the last thing I think I'll put here. Healthy selfishness is understanding that you deserve your spot on this beautiful blue-green ball, and that if you work hard, if you do right, if you improve yourself on a daily basis, little by little, a little quicker, a little smarter, a little wiser, a little happier, hopefully, uh, editing, then if that can be done, and if a lot of people do that, things will resolve themselves well enough. And those who refuse, those who want to stay apathic, truly, well, you will also have to be treated apathically, I suppose. Whether you deserve that or not, that stays in the middle. That's also the beauty of nature. It is indifferent. It is not hateful. It does not try to kill man. It does not necessarily try to save man. But it gives you the space, the room to fend for yourself. That is the self-respect that it allows you to have. And maybe real quick, love yourself. Do things that give you confidence so that you can love yourself, that you can eventually respect yourself. And once you respect yourself, you're set, then you're not going to take any anti-white stuff, and you do not need to have any emotional connection with anti-whites whatsoever. Build an identity on your own. Don't have a mirror identity that only lasts for as long as you have some sort of perceived enemy. And with that said, I am going to go on my walk. I'm going to enjoy nature a little bit and its indifference. Going to look at the indifferent birds and all of that. And you all have a good one. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.